Good evening, everybody. I hope that you guys have had a great holiday and have had a chance to get some rest. I am looking at the clock and I'm going to do my very best to share my faith journey with all of you very concisely. I want to talk with you about my faith journey as it pertains to my childhood, my adulthood, and now my seniorhood. And if the Lord grants me life and strength, I am hopeful to celebrate my 66th birthday in a couple of weeks. When I think about my personal faith journey, the first thing that really comes to my mind is having grown up in a very loving, godly home. I was just so blessed. I am so blessed to have grown up with my mom and dad who loved each other dearly. They were devoted to Christ, they were devoted to my brother and we grew up in the Methodist tradition. And the Methodist tradition, Methodism, the teachings and doctrine of the Methodist Church, I have found to be foundational in my life. Even over the years, although I no longer am affiliated with the United Methodist Church, especially when it comes down to situations or circumstances in our world that may seem to be controversial, kind of crossroads experiences, I have often gone back to, thought about, and even checked on the website on the Methodist, United Methodist Church to kind of get a sense of what the trend is or what the thinking is around certain kinds of issues. I do know, of course, that that's not to say that other traditions are not important and don't have something significant and important, to say to me. But for myself, the United Methodist Church in particular and the doctrine and teaching of the Methodist Church have really, really been foundational in my life. In particular, though, I would say that my faith journey was imprinted in my heart because of the example that I saw in my dad and in my mom. Again, they loved the Lord, they loved us, and of the two things that I learned from my growing up in the church as well as growing up in a Christian home, the first was servanthood, and the second was stewardship. And when I think of stewardship in particular, I am reminded that any and everything that we do for the Lord is only by God's grace. We are graced with an anointing for various aspects of ministry, service, however you want to think of it. But the thing that's most important to me now, as someone that's been in the ministry for so long, is that we remember that God gives us assignments. I believe there's a beginning and an end to each, and we should never take credit for whatever it is that God allows us to do. So, as it relates to my childhood and into my young adulthood, the spiritual foundation, spiritual formation, I think for me, I find that to be having grown up in my family home and in the United Methodist Church. I do want to share with you the next thing is spiritual um, markers. And this is a good heavy rock. And I tried to find something that would really give you a good impression, a feeling of what it is. The reason why I chose this rock is because I have learned over the years that it's important to remember, reflect upon the things that God has done in our lives so that as we do journey uh, as people of faith, we don't become overwhelmed with the assignment that God has called us to. And so these spiritual markers, this rock represents spiritual markers for me so that as I have gone along in my journey, I can set that rock down. And when I come to a place that's challenging, I can look back at that marker and say, well, if God did it once, he can do it again. So this rock, actually this rock is in my home office and I look at it every day just to remind me that of course our hope as the psalmist said, is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. On Christ, the solid rock, I stand, and all other ground is sinking sand. I want to share one other item, or maybe one just before the last item. This mug, I don't even know where I got it. It says, "What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail?" What would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? I don't know where I bought this mug, but the reason why I share it is because it is a reminder of me, for me, of a very challenging period in my life. I've always loved school, I've always loved study, I've always excelled in that way. But because of my, personal life at the time, being in the military, a single parent, and all the things that go with it, um, to complete my education was something that eluded me. And I came across this mug, and I intentionally put this mug where I could not miss it. And every day for years, I would read this sentiment until finally the opportunity came for me to go back to school as a fully online student in 2013. I earned my bachelor's degree, and that worked out so well that I continued, and I earned my first master's in 17, and then came back to the seminary, and earned my theological degree, and now I am attempting this D-Min program because I know I can't fail. Finally, I want to share with you this tattered, torn, raggedy, beat down, beat up Bible. And the reason why I chose this as my final um, um, piece in sharing is because it just represents a period of time in my life where I was really searching and seeking God as it pertains to spiritual direction. This Bible is so worn; it is just it's almost a shame if it wasn't for the fact that it represents my seeking God. And so it was during this period of time while I was in the military that God made it clear to me that He was calling me into ministry. And so I wanted to share this with you to say that I'm just so thankful that the Lord taught me how to recognize His voice so that I might have direction for my life. So those three things: spiritual formation from the Methodist tradition, spiritual markers as we go along this life's journey to really know when God is moving us, and then finally spiritual direction. Those are the three aspects of my faith journey that I would share with you that I believe best summarize my personal faith narration. So I hope that I didn't go over the time, and I thank you guys for your patience, and just pray that we will have a wonderful upcoming residency week. And I bid you God's peace and good journey. Thank you.